today. So today I'm going to talk to you about how you can genuinely believe your affirmations. So if you joined me yesterday, I gave you 10 powerful affirmations that you can use to attract more wealth and abundance in your life. But I did mention when we ran through those that in a lot of cases affirmations don't work. And the reason they don't work is because you may not genuinely believe them. So that's what we're going to address today. So yesterday I took you through an exercise, if you tuned in, on how to test your level of belief around the affirmations that I gave you. And so if you missed that, feel free to go back and watch the replay. And there's just a short exercise that you can follow to rate yourself on a number of affirmations to see whether you really do believe them. And so this exercise that we're going to do today follows that. And so if you did get some low scores, so I got you to rate those affirmations out of 10. And if you got a score that was less than 10, and thank you by the way to everyone who shared their scores, it was great to see what came up for people. So if you did get a score that was less than 10, then what it indicates is that you have resistance to your own goals and to success. And so what we want to do is we want to get to the core of that and we want to address it. And so, you know, the reason that actually happens, it's not that you repel success, it's not that you weren't meant to be successful. So sometimes people will start to form that conclusion, and it's really got nothing to do with that. The reason you experience this resistance is because there are emotional blocks that you've been carrying with you for some time that prevent you from genuinely buying into that goal and from operating at your best. And so what we want to do is we want to get to the core of what those emotional blocks are so that you can deal with that resistance. And once you do that, that will naturally free you up to operate at your best level. So today I'm going to show you how to clear that resistance and how to really start believing your affirmations. And the way that we're going to do that is to use a technique called tapping, which you may have seen me demonstrate before. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a tapping sequence that's going to start to shift some of the emotions that came up around that resistance. And the reason we work on that is because you store those emotions in your body so people can actually feel it. So, you know, you might have read some of those affirmations out or said them out loud, and then suddenly you have like a sick feeling in your stomach, or your body language changes. So you literally just kind of crouch down and start to feel, a bit sick or a bit negative about it. Or in some cases it'll spark really strong emotions like anger. And so what we want to understand is what's behind that. So why did those emotions come up? And so that's what tapping is going to help us do. And the other thing I want to mention too is that the reason I start with emotions, so I got you to look at a bunch of statements, and so they're thoughts or beliefs. What I found is that it's actually really hard to start with your thoughts on their own. So when we talk about the mind, people I think naturally tend to say, well, that's just got to do with my thoughts or my beliefs. But actually the mind is like a whole system. And I'll do some later videos explaining that in more detail. But the mind is actually a culmination of your thoughts and beliefs, your emotions, and then the action that you take. So it's all of that combined. And what I found is that it's really difficult to just address the mind on its own. So you may have heard loads of people to say, you've got to think positive, you've got to forget all the negative stuff, and, just have the willpower to be positive. And I've got to be honest with you, that doesn't really work. It might work for a short period of time, but then you default back to, if you've got negative emotions behind that, that's what your default position is. And so I find it much easier to go straight to the heart of emotions, and we can deal with those and fix those and neutralize the reaction that you have around those emotions. And then you'll find that your thoughts naturally start to change. So when you feel better, you start to think differently. So, and there's lots of research on that as well. So if you're, interested in some of that, I'm more than happy to share it. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to start with those emotions. So I'm going to run you through a bit of a process today that's going to give you even more clarity around that resistance. So if you went through and gave yourself some scores yesterday, today's exercise will actually help to reinforce that, and then we're going to start to neutralize some of those scores or the intensity around your reaction to those statements. And so we're then actually going to get you to ask yourself, to show you what's behind those scores. So what are the emotions? Because if you can start to name them, then straight away that takes away some of the power from that negativity, and we can start to address it specifically. Because when it's just vague, so it might start out as a feeling in your stomach or your body language just tensing up and dropping, and that's okay. What you want to do is keep continuing the tapping sequence and just pull out what that emotion is, because once we've got a specific emotion, then we can work on clearing it. So let's dive right in. So what we're going to do today, just to explain the process that we'll go through, we're actually going to repeat yesterday's exercise. So I'm going to call out all of those affirmations again. But before we do that, I'm going to lead you in with an intro statement. And we're actually going to use a tapping point called the karate chop point, which is literally this. So it's sort of the side of your hand, and you just tap on it with 2 fingers. And it doesn't matter which hand, you can alternate them, and I will alternate them in the script, but you can stick to just one if that's easier for you. And then we'll move back to using all of the tapping points. And the other thing is, you don't have to hold your hand up here. I'm just doing it so that I can demonstrate it to you, but normally I would just sort of have it down here at sort of lap level. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lead you in with an intro statement, and then we're going to go through, I'm going to read out all of those affirmations again. Actually, I'm going to leave a break in between so that you can repeat all the statements after me. And then what I want you to do is just mentally check in and rescore yourself. Or if you have a pen handy, then just write down those scores, or you can go back to the replay and write down the scores afterwards. So we're just going to start that, and then I want you to just check in with yourself about how you feel, and then I'll explain what the next part of the process is. So alright, just take a deep breath, just clear off any sort of mental distractions that are around you, and we're going to start just by tapping on this karate chop point, and I'd like you to repeat after me. Even though I didn't believe many of those affirmations, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I didn't really believe many of those affirmations, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I didn't really believe many of those affirmations, I completely love and accept myself. I ask my mind to show me what's sitting behind that resistance. I ask my mind to show me the emotional blocks that want to be released. I ask my mind and the universe to show me the pain that wants to be healed. Okay, just take a deep breath, and we're just going to continue tapping through the points as I read out the affirmation statements, and just repeat them after me, and make a mental note of whether you believe them to be true. So 0 meaning you don't believe them at all, and 10 meaning you completely believe them. So either make a mental note or write them down. Okay, so just repeat after me. I'm enough right now, no matter what. I'm financially free, and I live in a home I love. Money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources. On a continuous basis, and I make over $1 million per year. I'm happy and confident, and I radiate positive energy, calmness of mind, and love. I'm an articulate speaker, and I present with conviction. Just on your collarbone point. I generate profits with ease and in masses. Under the arm, I always arrive early for my appointments. Top of the head. I am focused and productive. I'm a master of strategy, execution, and outsourcing. The last one. I always do what needs to be done at once. Okay, take a deep breath. There's just a plane going past, so hopefully that's not too loud. So we're just going to wrap up with a final statement. So I'll just get you to tap on your collarbone point and say, I honour the resistance I've been storing, and I'm open to clearing it and finding a new way of operating. Okay, so take a final deep breath. So, alright, so that was an example of a tapping sequence that you can use, and I'll just explain what that sequence will actually do. So you can go through and repeat it a number of times. And so what it's going to do initially, so if you don't find that, your scores have shifted straight away, that's okay. What this exercise is doing is actually helping you get to the real source of your resistance. And so what I really want you to tune in on is what those emotions are that are sitting behind there. So as I said before, if it's sadness, if it's anger, if it's, frustration, I want you to be able to name those emotions, because they're the ones that you ultimately want to deal with. Because what's happening is you're experiencing those and they're getting triggered every time you have some kind of an interaction with money or success. And so by clearing those, you will naturally free yourself up to step into your greatness. And so, to give you an example, like you might also come to the source of a specific trauma that has caused you to have a low score in one of these areas. So one of the examples that jumps to mind is the one around, I'm an articulate speaker and I present with conviction. So as you probably know, a lot of people have a fear around public speaking, and often it's caused by something in particular, so some kind of trauma. And it could be something as simple as like one day you gave a presentation and you got stuck, like you kind of swallowed your own words and you felt like you really embarrassed yourself and you just wanted to crawl into a hole and die. So that might sound a bit extreme, but those experiences can be really traumatic, and they're the things that get triggered next time you go to speak to someone or give a speech or even do a Facebook Live. Like these things are what holds you back, and so they don't always spring to mind. And so by doing this tapping, so identifying the emotion, which might be fear or embarrassment in that example, then you might actually start to come to the source of what caused that fear or embarrassment. So it is a process, but what you'll find as well is even though those things may not come to you, like the specific examples, just by doing the tapping on those statements, you will start to neutralize your resistance, and it's because you're neutralizing it within your body. So any previous anxiety or fear that's been running through your nervous system, you're going to just start to calm that down through your own body. And again, when you calm that down, then you'll find that your thoughts and beliefs naturally start to change as well. And so you'll know that happens because you'll start to shift to a more empowered state where you can actually take action, and you won't be self-sabotaging all the time. And so, I really encourage you to give this a go, because as you take more action, your self-belief will increase as well. And so it's going to reverse that cycle that we talked about yesterday, where sometimes when you've got a low level of belief and it causes you to be in a state of inaction, then that compounds as well. And so what we're doing is we're breaking that cycle by starting with your emotions, which will change your beliefs, which will prompt you to take action. And so when you do take action, then you're going to have, the ultimate result, which is you'll see a permanent change in your behavior and you'll actually get the results that you want, because ultimately it's the results that matter. And the other added benefit is you'll find other people start to notice the change in your behavior as well. And sometimes it's something as simple as that can lead you to getting recognized and even promoted at work. So try this, let me know how it goes for you. And I'd love for you to comment below and let me know if any of your scores changed, or if something specific came up for you that didn't initially come up in yesterday's exercise. So I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment below. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.